Olá, começa aqui a Fiada, podcast da Cora Design. Eu sou Raquel Chames e hoje a gente dá início ao último episódio da nossa série Produção Local, Cuidado Global. Vamos falar sobre regeneração no sistema da moda e eu tenho dois convidados muito especiais comigo, Beto Bina, fundador da Farfarm, e Aileen Blackmore, que é fundadora da House of Design. O nosso encontro hoje será em inglês. Não se preocupem porque teremos legenda. Inclusive, essas legendas são uma maneira da gente possibilitar que todo o nosso público do Brasil e da Holanda se conecte. E também de agradecer a participação e apoio do Consulado da Holanda, que foi um dos nossos parceiros na produção dessa série de videocasts, junto com a FiberChat. As I was saying in Portuguese, Eileen, this is the final episode of the series Local Production, Global Care. And in these 3 episodes, we had guests from Brazil and the Netherlands. And our idea was to answer the question, how regenerative networks can help to change fashion, which is kind of a bold question and a bold challenge for us, but we had some very interesting perspectives from our guests and from the conversations that we guided here. Our last conversation has a sense of conclusion, and we will be focused on strategies to transform fashion, considering local approaches, but also a more systemic view in terms of how fashion as this huge global chain could be different. Eileen, can you start?
Thank you, and also thank you for inviting me. My name is Aileen Blackmore. I'm the founder of House of Design. I'm situated in the northern part of the Netherlands, and House of Design is founded in 1996, so we've been busy for quite some time. And the last 15 years, we are focusing on change strategies and how can we make a change using circular design. And my background is art and ICT. I usually say art and mathematics, so I'm very much into interventions and design, but also in the logistics behind things. So that is about me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Raquel. Super happy to be here. I'm Beto Bina. I'm the founder of Farfarm, and my first decade working was more in the corporate side. But actually I came from an artistic family. Similar to Eileen, I really wanted to have the both like art and science work. So I ended up starting my career in the creative sector, but always looking to business and strategy. And when I turned 30 years old, I really wanted to do something different. I really want to work with sustainability, how I call it at the time. And then I changed it and created Farfarm in 2017. So Farfarm was designed to create a bridge between companies that wants to buy or responsible raw materials and communities, traditional communities that are doing the type of agriculture we need right now. And they are vulnerable communities, but needs to be integrated in the market. So we try to create this bridge with a mission to create supply chain that regenerate nature, promote social development, and tell stories.
Thank you very much. Eileen, I think if you want to explain or give us an example of a project that you develop right now, that would be nice, because I think it would be easier for our audience to understand exactly what you do.
So one of the projects is called Wat van Waarde, which means Wadden-Sea region for value. It's a UNESCO World Heritage region in the Netherlands. It's a north part. And what we want to do there is to make steps from plastic soup to veggie soup. So how can we extract the plastic pollution by bringing back alternatives, bio-based alternatives. And therefore we work with farmers to bring back the crop flax, and from flax you make linen. And we started, say, about 6 years ago together with these farmers. And the first time was 4 years ago. We started with 2 hectares because the northern part of the Netherlands used to be a flax region, but because of the cheaper cotton and cheaper synthetic textiles, it all disappeared. And it's very good for the soil. It's very good for the farmers. It's also good for the biodiversity, and of course, it's a beautiful crop, and you can make a lot of material out of it. So the linen textiles, but also from the residues, you can use it for building material. And so we started with 2 hectares. And slowly scaled up, and this year we have 65, and we work together with 14 farmers, and we link them to a whole local value chain system. So we link the farmers to designers, product designers, textile designers, also architects, but also we connect them to schools, and that's for vocational school and higher education. But also we look at the production and logistics, because you need quite some machines to have all the flax steps to linen, and also the role of the government being a launching customer. And also, instead of a profit model, we say a sharing model. So how can we share with all the steps from farmer until the end producer? And also, who is the owner of the material? Is it the farmer or is it the designer? So how can we collect back the products if they're broken, and how can we repair it or put it back into the ground again? So we have this whole local value chain model that we use within this transition from plastic soup to veggie soup.
Thank you, Eileen. It helps a lot, I think, for people who are not so aware of the importance of your actuation in the Netherlands. So thank you. And I will now ask Beto if you can also give us a good example what Farfarm does, also helping people to understand the importance of your work.
So I've been doing some of these projects. I can mention one which we've been doing for 5 years now with Renner. They are a global example on how a really large fashion brand can try to minimize impact. And the work we're doing is to develop a supply chain using agroforestry with organic cotton. And we did a partnership with a university in Mato Grosso, the UFMT, the Federal University of Mato Grosso. And in their experimental units, we're developing a model. We developed that last year. And then this model is being replicated. This year was in 12 families, and the idea is to grow next year. So all these families from these vulnerable communities are planting agroforestry and cotton. So they are selling this cotton to Renner. At the same time, the other diversity of crops can provide food security and extra income for these families. So this is one of the projects. There are many others ones. I'll be happy to share more.
Also want to ask you, Beto, what do you think is the role of this regenerative agriculture for a more sustainable fashion? I know this word is not exactly the perfect for what we desired in terms of a new system, but I think it is easier for people to understand what we are talking about. So what is the role of regenerative agriculture for this transition?
Regarding the role of regenerative agriculture, producing food and fibers at the same time you're regenerating landscapes and providing social developments, it is the solution. We need to move forward and accelerate regenerative agriculture as an ecosystem of public policies, private companies, NGOs, everybody working together towards amplifying and scaling regenerative agriculture. But it's also a threat because the terminology, the word regenerative is already being vulgarized and becoming a commodity.
It was really interesting to see you presenting the words and the meaning that we can understand from each one of them, because this is very important and delicate when we communicate also the change that we are trying to reach as a group, as a movement in fashion. And this care that you have with the words is really nice, because it represents the importance of agroecology and how it is different, because it also has other values, especially the social values. Eileen, I am sure that you have a lot of experience with this kind of local transitions and helping to rearrange all those players into working together for a new system. And you mentioned that a little bit when you explained about your work So my question for you now would be, what are the biggest challenges that you see in promoting this local production? I mean, we are talking especially about the fashion industry, but if you want to relate to other sectors, that would also be nice.
Yeah, biggest challenges is to communicate, because every link in the value chain, they have their own language and they do not understand the other one. Like I said, I work with the farmers, and the farmers think that they are very important, and they are, but they're not the only one. And like now I have a presentation, an international presentation on the Dutch Design Week in Eindhoven, which is quite famous worldwide. And some farmers are visiting it. And they said, the farmer said, it is so interesting how this value chain takes me away from the farm and to show me my role as a link in this value chain. And I always think everybody should visit my farm so they can see what we are doing. But I think it's just as important that the farmers go abroad to see what is happening with their crops and to see what they are part of. And it's the same with a company with whom I work, who is creating curtains. And they have plastic curtains now, and they know what it means with microplastics to the health of the human. And since they know they want to have linen curtains, so they cooperate also with us. And it's so interesting that he also, or the company also visits the farmers to see how their material is growing and also to understand each other's languages. And he said, for me, it's so important to see what is happening on the field, how the linen is being grown, that I can make our curtains of, because it's a quite big company. And he said it would be weird that if the crop wouldn't work because of weather conditions, that I would call China and say, okay, it didn't work in my region, so I would like to buy the linen from another continent. And that is why he said I want to work on a shared economical system instead of only a linear system. So not a profit model, but a sharing model. And this is so important that you understand each other's languages, but also each other's challenges. So I think it's very good that to working in value chains to get to know each other. And it's the same with education, that I work with industrial product design, and they work with plastic and wood and steel. And I introduced also the bio-based materials, the bioplastic, but also the textiles. And that now they're more working on the knowledge of material. Where does it come from? What is the resource? What is the situation of people getting the material for us to make products? So I think it's a lot about knowledge, that people know what kind of clothes are you wearing? What is it made of? Who has been working on it? So there is a big one. And a big challenge, of course, if you look at local production, you're more fragile. So that if a crop doesn't work, that you're very vulnerable. And that's why it's very good to have to work together in a more distributed system, that you have different local communities working together. That if something happens, that you can cooperate with another local production facility or a local value chain. I think this is very interesting also, that you have small scale production facilities and material networks, but that they work together with the different networks. I think this is very important.
Yeah, this is really interesting, because the first conversation that I had into this series of episodes was with a farmer, a very young female farmer called Susana Aguiar. And when we were talking, she also mentioned that this communication was certainly one of the most important challenges for her, and also that she was sometimes amazed on how difficult it was for people to reconnect to very simple relationships in terms of getting to know each other, understanding where the cotton was grown and how they were living. So this kind of interest and curiosity for what the other players are doing is very nice. And it is also about building healthier relationships with people. So nice. It's good to see how all of the conversations are connecting.
I just wanted to add something. In Dutch, we have a
please.
saying. In Dutch, we have a saying: what a farmer doesn't know, it doesn't eat. And I think also here that if as consumer you do not know, you will not pay because you do not know. And one of the farmers said it would be beautiful that my daughter would walk in the field with the linen skirt of the flax that I have been grown. And then it's also this storytelling.
Just quickly to complement Eileen, we have another saying, which is people don't like what they don't understand, and you have to communicate well, and that's what we try to do a lot at Farm. Actually, my master thesis was about that, how to create empathy between farmers and the fashion industry. And one of the things is, okay, they need to get together in real person. Like the people needs to leave their offices and go to the communities, go to nature, go to the farms, and need to bring farmers to the industry to see how a spinner works, how weaving works, and understand that why you need that pattern or standards, right? Because you have this big machine. So they need to create this empathy, and that's really hard.
I think the final question is also very interesting for us. And Eileen mentioned a little bit about that when she was bringing her first answer. And the point that I want to bring to you is this shared responsibility in fashion. I think all of our conversation today dealt with shared responsibility somehow, but I think it would be good for us to talk, and in this case I'm making the question for the both of you so you can collaborate in the answer. Can we imagine systems, and now I'm thinking both locally and globally, where all the players involved, and for example in this conversation we talked about the farmers, business, and so the governments, and all of these players, can we think about a shared responsibility for fashion and talk about benefits and risks being actually shared? What do you think about that? I am sure the examples you brought today are somehow bringing this to reality already, but do you see a broader transformation for fashion in the future?
I think it would be very good that we revalue materials, and that we say, okay, material is more expensive than we have it now, because then it's like using it as a gold that you are careful with. And also if you have workers working on it, you will also be careful with your workers because they are working with your local gold. And if we would revalue material and also revalue craftsmanship, it would already start to make this change in also in the steps to the workers. So that is something I would like to bring in. And I'm very curious, Beto, what you would like to share, or do you have a reply on this, an idea?
I think in my experience, when we deal with these complex ecosystems, we need to work as a network, right? And the best examples I've seen is examples where you have different entities working together towards a new development of a supply chain. Just a quick example. When you're extracting rubber from the Amazon, you have the public policies doing subsidizing the work. You have the NGOs that might be funded by Europe that are providing technical assistance or tools. And you have the private company buying the raw material with a premium price, with a certification to make it happen. In order to really create these new supply chains, you need to work alongside so many different entities. And that's, for me, is the way where the shared value is put in place. In the case of Brazil, Brazil history has always been told through exploitative raw materials, right? From Pau Brazil since the beginning with the red dyes, and then you had the sugarcane, you had the rubber with different cycles in the war, you have gold, and all these raw materials, they just left poverty, inequality, exploitative relationships. And what we're looking right now is that developing these new supply chains is not just a role within the local systems in Brazil, but also Europe. It's looking to Brazil on how to buy raw materials that tells a different story. So I don't have a lot of street answers. I think my approach is more about, okay, let's test new ways to work out, because we need to change the way this ecosystem works. We need to change the way supply chain is working right now. The model where the buyer's KPI, the metric of the buyers is paying the lowest price ever. So imagine someone is buying cotton in a fashion industry. Their metric is, I need to buy the cheapest cotton possible. That's the thing that we need to turn upside down and change. And that's how I see a shared value into that.
And I think it's good that we look at the value of things, like the value of this meeting and the value of people working on our products, and also the value of the farmers producing our material, but also the value of the polluting material, that they have a different value than the healthy value items. So that would be good, that less fossil material and then more, say, local renewable material, and to see how you can put that back into value.
Just to complement, I think there's another approach that the fashion industry should take more, which is going beyond the industry itself. The fashion industry, it's way smaller than the food industry. When you think about agriculture, the food industry has been evolving a lot. But you have, in agriculture aspects, you have just like basically cotton, right? But cotton is being in a consortium or being replaced with soybeans, with corn, with other plantations. When you think about a different perspective, instead of thinking about a monoculture of cotton, but using consortiums and planting cotton together with cacao to develop chocolate, or palm trees to develop cosmetics. So I think that's also a way to have a shared value, which is the cross-industry approach. I think that's really important. And also, just to answer Eileen, I totally agree with putting value into things, but also it's really hard to have this need to always relate to the financial model. When you think about like carbon credits, biodiversity credits, it's a really good way because you can dialogue with the financial model, and we know that the financial system is what moves things forward. But also there's so many elements that is so hard to value when you think about ecosystem services, like scenic beauty or legacy. How can you value these things? And also, we work with many vulnerable communities. When you consider the metrics, the GDP metrics, which is like water safety or something, like these communities, most of them, they have like the lowest GDP. However, they are the happiest people because they live within their community, they live within nature. So I agree that you need to put value on. I think the challenging part, it's how can you do it without using the same metrics as a financial model, or changing, like regenerating the mindset as well. And that's also maybe one of the key challenges of the future, I feel.
But that's exactly what I mean with revalue. Is not the value in money, but what to have a true value, like what is the proper value, and not in a money or in a monetary system, but also in your health, in your happiness. That's why I always say, okay, it's not human-centered design, but it's planet-centered design for human use. It's a long-term vision, but it would be very interesting to have a kind of research in how to revalue empathy and clean air, clean water, and a biodiverse environment, and how can you change it into less costs for health, so that the government also understands it, because it is unfortunately all money driven. But you can change the view on that.
I think this is also a good incentive for people who are listening to us to try to understand how this new indicators for success can be described and also brought to our daily projects and to our future projects, not only concerning fashion, but as Beto said, thinking about new ideas that connect different sectors and can actually give us new answers. Also connecting with our first thoughts on communication and getting to know realities more, because I think it is very important for businesses, governments, farmers, laborers in general to be able to see the whole system working together. And when you can understand each other's necessities, we can also create projects that are more just and equal for everyone. I'm very happy that you had this conversation and that we put all this attention into the importance of the networks, because even talking about the local projects or a more like international transformation, in both cases, we need this very deep understanding of reality. And for that, communication and, empathy is very important. I appreciated our conversation today, and I want to thank you in the name of Cora Design and also Fibershadow and the Consulate from the Netherlands for your presence and for your desire to help into this transformation. I also want to remind you that you have those two first episodes, as I mentioned, talking about agroecologia, which is exactly what Beto was talking about before, which is a very beautiful system that we have in Brazil for agriculture. And also we have Stijn Jaspers from the Netherlands talking about the circular economy, especially in the Netherlands. So that's it. Thank you very much and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raquel. Nice to meet you, Eileen.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.